2025 is over for the US men's national team, and it was kind of a weird year. Mauricio Pochettino tested 51 different starters. We got really bad results in the CONCACAF Nations League. We lost the Gold Cup to Mexico, and it wasn't actually a very good Gold Cup in general from the United States. Some bad friendlies following that, but then the team seems to have come back to life. And they closed the year with a 5-game undefeated streak. We beat Japan, we tied Ecuador, we beat Australia, we beat, Paraguay, Uruguay, all 5 opponents that will be in the 2026 World Cup. So what can we make of this year? Was it good? Was it bad? Is it kind of still to be determined? Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And today we have a very special episode with no one less than Herc Gomez, former US men's national team analyst for ESPN and the host and face of the Vamos network. And this is how it's going to go. We're going to dive into whether or not this year was a success or a failure. Then we're going to talk about some US men's national team hot topics, like is Balogun finally the clear best 9, Christian Roldan, the defense that has been quite shaky to say the least, Gio Reyna, is he a roster lock? Is he a lock to start? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and much more. Now, make sure to also drop a like in the video. I won't be asking during, the actual conversation with Herc, and you can sit back, relax, get some popcorn. But before you sit back and relax, hit the like button, because you're also going to forget during the video. Okay, Herc, welcome back. How are you doing?
Doing well, my man. Just getting my day started. Came back home. About to do this with you. So everything's good, man.
Yeah, and today I want to go through 2025. It was a bit of a weird year for the U.S. men's national team because if you go up to the summer, it was complete and utter crap. After the summer, it was still a little bit crap. But we end the year in a very positive note. Obviously, there's some context to be added here and there, but I don't think anyone is unhappy with the last few performances. There are still a few question marks, and there are topics that we disagreed in the past that some of it I was probably wrong, you were wrong. We're going to go through those too. But Herc, before we even start anything, let me ask you one thing. Was this year a success or a failure?
Well, in terms of ending the year with some of the questions we've been asking about identity, tactics, formations, player personnel, you end the year on a high. You end the year feeling very good and thinking it's success. But if you take into account the whole year, it's tough to grade it an A. It's for me, C going on to B, maybe a solid B, I would say. I'd give it a solid B, but you got to go for the whole year. And you lost some time. And Mauricio Pochettino, and we'll get into the player personnel, but it took a while to get to that player personnel. And maybe there are players that I think are A players, the A team, and players that you think are the A team. And if we go through the analysis, he's never played with the full deck. He's never had at his disposal in any camp the full deck. That's why, for me, I can't label it an A. I still think the U.S. men's national team's never had a camp where you can say all the players we deem and he deems necessary have been in camp.
That's why it's such a weird year, right? It feels, if you look just at the results, it wasn't great. But the way we closed the year, it looks good. Also, if you add the context that clearly this guy was trying to fix the culture, now we can clearly see it, right? There was an issue there, and it looks like he sacrificed results, team cohesiveness in order to do that.
And maybe player personnel. He also sacrificed players, I think. I mean, think about this for a second. In this camp, say what you will, but Matt Turner was part of the pool. Okay, not in this camp. Malik Tillman, Anthony Robinson, Alejandro Sendejas, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Timothy Weah, Chris Richards. That's a big chunk of players that you would say probably at any point in time could be here.
And look at that. One statistic for you, posted by USMNT Worldwide. The U.S. men's national team had 51 different starters in 2025. That kind of just backs what you said. It's insane.
Pochettino tested out 71 players. 71 players.
How many games we had this year?
So in total, I think he's had 24 games, and he got hired what, October last year.
Uh-huh.
So that's an incredible amount, and I understand that there's going to be these carve outs, your January camps, if you will. Maybe what others deem a less important tournament like the Gold Cup, because the U.S. has taken the Gold Cup seriously twice in the last 11 goes. Listen to that one, twice in the last 11. That means 9 times, often not, the U.S. men's national team has said, you know what? Gold Cup isn't worth it. Not worth our time. It used to be not worth their time back in the day because they were too busy playing Confederations Cup, or they're too busy in a Copa America where they deemed that's what we need to stress on here. Well, you could argue, took it seriously this go around? Maybe. I mean, look who wasn't playing. There was no Giovanni Reyna. There was no Weston McKennie. There was no Christian Pulisic.
He
Eunice
tried to bring
Musa.
Pulisic, though. He tried
He
to
did.
bring.
He did. Eunice Musa, forgot to mention him. You know, we can go down the list. Anthony Robbins, Serginho Dest. You know, there was some talent missing. So you could say, like, maybe they took it seriously. Just these players weren't available, and it's circumstantial. Pulisic, Eunice Musa, we know the drama. Weston McKennie, Giovanni Reyna, you know, we know they were the Club World Cup. Timothy Weah. So there are some circumstances to why these players weren't there. So maybe you could say they did take it seriously with the players they had at their disposal, but certainly it wouldn't be what the majority of us thought would have been the A team. So yeah, you know, they didn't take it seriously in terms of who was available, but they took it seriously in terms of what he was trying to accomplish, and they lost to Mexico, which is always going to be, you know, what you're measured upon here in CONCACAF.
I think that a lot that we're going to talk about for this year is going to be reliant on how we do next year, right? Because mainly what we're saying, it was a weird year, but we ended on a positive note, and if we can build off this and do on the World Cup, it was all worth it. If we don't, then it was just a waste of a year. It kind of, the analogy I used once, I think it was with Pete or with Adam here at the channel, it was, I don't know if you're a big Star Wars guy, so you might not get it, but a lot of people will. If you go back to when Disney had Star Wars: The Force Awakens, the first movie, the first of the new sequel trilogy, it wasn't a bad movie, but it was a movie that was reliant on the other two being good, if that makes any sense. It was a good
Okay.
setup.
Okay.
So what happened with Force Awakens was when it came out, people loved it. Most people, it was very hyped and it did very well. But then the other two were very bad. So nowadays, when people look back at Force Awakens, it's like, yeah, it was crap, even though it wasn't at the time. So, but if the other two were amazing, that movie might have been tremendous. So I guess this year is going to be 100% dependent on how we do next year.
God damn it. You're such a nerd. I love it.
I know. I could use Pokemon too.
I know what you're saying. And I don't think it's a waste of a year. I think it's a very valuable year, because what I learned out of Pochettino, and it's the culture talk, and I've seen it the last 3 camps, 5 games, is no matter who is playing, whether it's Giovanni Reyna, Christian Pulisic, Sendejas, Diego Luna, Sebastian Berhalter, Alex Freeman, Tanner Tessman, Aiden Morris, whoever the case may be, there's an intensity which they go about things. And that was lost. You never had to question the heart, the spirit, the fight of the U.S. men's national team player. You could question them technically, tactically. You could question if they had the level, but you would never question those things. Those were base level things. That's back, and it's evident. So for me, it's not a waste of a year, because you found a formation that seems to work, and they seem to feel comfortable in. You found a formation. You found a way about doing things. You found players that are interesting. I mean, Max Arfston wasn't on my radar, and Max Arfston over the summer got cooked a couple times defensively, offensively, made mistakes. But right now, you look at Max Arfston and you're like, it may be Serginho Dest, Christian Pulisic, Giovanni Reyna in a way, and Max Arfston to have the ability to dribble out of things. Those are literally the only 4 players you could say have an ability to dribble out of things. Timothy Weah is direct. There are other players that can eliminate you in certain ways, but the ability to 1v1 eliminate a player, which is the most valuable thing, in my opinion, in world football, because you change tactical schemes, you eliminate players. He may be one of the only ones, and Max Arfson's going to have a place on this team because of that. That wasn't the case early on in the summer. I didn't have Max Arfson on that radar. He insisted with a Max Arfson, and now he's emerged as a player that I think is going to play a significant amount, whether as a starter or off the bench for the U.S. men's national team in the World Cup.
Very likely. The way things are. Also, we don't know what's going on with Anthony Robinson right now in terms of his knee. So who knows how he's going to be a year from now? Oh, hopefully he's less than a year. Sorry, the World Cup is
8 months.
8 months. We're pretty close. But Herc, moving on, I think there's a few topics and question marks still with this team, and there's things that we debated in the past. Some we agreed, some we disagreed, and that's something I wanted to dive into. Some very quick points. One you brought up before we even started recording, which is true. I can't remember when you said this, but you said Roldan was going to be in the next World Cup. When was that? Do you remember?
I said Roldan was going to be in the 2022 Qatar World Cup like 6 months before the World Cup. And I believe it was you and Pete that
Yeah.
got very upset and said there's no chance he's in the World Cup. I'm like, I'm telling you, he's going to be in the World Cup. And I try explaining how there are players that not only is what you do on the field, but how you are off the field. There are these players that you need in the locker room that can be essential, like these glue guys. And I gave that as an example. And we were talking back then, I was explaining how he was like player 23 to 26. That could have been. And that was the case because I don't think he played in the World Cup, if I'm
No, Roldan didn't. No
right. So
minutes.
he was player 23 to 26. He made the World Cup team. And here we are now. He's going to make another World Cup.
Well, this one you didn't expect, if you go back.
No, I didn't
Right.
expect. But the moment he starts playing with Mauricio Pochettino and you listen to Mauricio Pochettino, and I pay attention to the press conferences and I watch the videos that they upload and I see things and you see how the team reacts. There's a video with Christian Pulisic. He's about to get on the plane, their charter, and they ask him, who do you sit next to on flights? He doesn't hesitate. He goes, oh, Roldan. That's my guy. I always sit next to Roldan. So you see the way that players express themselves about Roldan. I think Weston McKennie has spoken glowingly about Roldan. You see the way that Pochettino expresses Roldan about, I didn't know about Roldan, but now that I see him here and I see how he is on the field and off the field, that's an example. So it would be something crazy for Roldan. It'd have to have bad performance for Roldan not to make the World Cup team. Just alone on his play. I mean, listen, Australia is Australia, but that's a tough opponent. And Haji Wright had 2 very well taken goals. Roldan had 2 assists on those goals. And Roldan's a guy that offers plenty of things on the field for a certain level, right? I'm sure Roldan's not going to tell you that he thinks he's going to start on the U.S. men's national team. But he adds value.
DR Football thinks he will, but that's a different discussion. DR Football. It's a joke. Yesterday they posted a starting 11 there online that clearly someone that's not been following the team posted it, and they were getting torched. And Roldan was starting, and everyone was like, look, he'll be in the World Cup roster. It's very unlikely that he'll start with everyone available. Very unlikely.
Oh, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, but would you bet against him not making the World Cup team right now?
No, he'll be there unless he's injured because also we don't have many games left, right? So you said he would have to play very poorly, but we have 2 games left before the roster. And maybe he won't even play many minutes in those games, right? We're playing apparently Portugal and Belgium, I think. That's what the rumors are, Portugal and Belgium. If we have the full roster, Roldan
Portugal, Belgium, Germany are the 3 that are going to be the games.
But Germany's already with the World Cup roster.
Correct. That's a send-off.
Yeah, so the Portugal-Belgium game, we might have most of our best player. Like Pochettino might go to the World Cup roster there already in March.
Oh, you should.
Exactly. And Roldan will be there. He might not play much. There's not enough time. And even if he messes up one game, that's not going to remove him from the player pool. One game.
Look at this series. Look at Paraguay, Uruguay. Everybody played. Everybody but Pepe played. Everybody started but Pepe and the goalkeeper.
But you think he'll do that in March?
Yeah, because he's been doing it. Look at the way he reacted in the presser. Of course he's going to do it. That's what got me going and thinking of like, oh, shit, man. Maybe I'm thinking about this the wrong way. Maybe he's already got his base. Maybe he's already got his players. Maybe he's already got his way of going about things. Like, I've been thinking about this all wrong because I've been watching this team since 2018. When they didn't qualify for Russia, they were already getting games. Weston McKennie, Josh Sargent was in that pool, Tyler Adams. They were playing against France and getting games together. They were being gifted being gifted international caps by the national team. I've been watching this team for so long. I know the equity of these players. I know what Weston McKennie means to the national team. I know what Gio Reyna means to the national team. I know what Timothy Weah and Yunus Musa have meant to the national team. Pochettino doesn't know that, and he doesn't care about that. And that's like what I started thinking about. This guy doesn't care about what happened in the past. He watches the videos, maybe he goes and visits the players, sees them train, and then he evaluates them based on that. And maybe that's why a guy like Joe Scally is having a hard time getting on this team, because there may have been a moment, golf cart moment or not, I don't know, it's not been proven, that just rubbed Pochettino the wrong way. And he's like, yeah, no. There may have been a moment with Gio Reyna during that March Nations League that rubbed him the wrong way on the field or off the field. And when it was 0-0 versus Panama, he looks down at the bench and goes, I need a goal. Gio Reyna, no. Brian White, let's go. It's your turn. You know, like, he doesn't care. And that's what I'm starting to realize. Like, he's played everybody, every window, which is why you have 71 appearances, which is why you have, you know, what was it? You said 50 or 51?
51 different starters, which is pretty crazy.
So if you're asking me if I think he's going to play everybody in March, that's what he's been doing. That's what he's been doing.
I agree. He has been doing it. I can't really argue with that. I just think that at some point, it's what we were talking about. It looks like to learn more about the player pool, to fix the culture within the team, he had to sacrifice team cohesiveness and results to a certain extent. I think comes March, he's going to have to prepare the team for the World Cup. So I'm assuming he's going to try to put more of what he sees, and if it sees as the starting team or the best 15. And if you look at his player selections, there's a few players here and there that we would agree that they're most likely starters with him, right? It looks like Matt Freese has become the starter for now.
Oh, yeah.
Matt
No,
Freese.
there's no for now.
Tim Ream.
It's Matt Freese. He's unless he gets injured, he's going to start. Yeah.
Matt Freese, Tim Ream, I think, with Pochettino, Chris Richards with Pochettino. I think we're going to talk about this in a second. I think Balogun also became his starter at the 9. Christian Pulisic for obvious reasons. I think Dest also on the right wing back position. It's been pretty obvious when he played. Outside of that, I think everyone's fighting for a spot.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Who are the other ones?
No. I think Alex Freeman is going to start.
But you think he's a lock? You don't think he can lose it?
Right now, no. I mean, I think he's proven that's his guy. I think Max Arfsten is going to start.
Unless they Rob's back?
Well, no, because Anthony's not been back, and he's not even back with Fulham, and he's coming off a maybe more serious than we knew about knee injury. And unless we're talking about a player that's heavily dependent on his physical abilities, and he's not physically right at the moment. So you have to assume he's not there.
I think there's a scenario he plays Weah there. I think there's a scenario where he starts Weah over Arfsten.
No chance. Can I blow your mind for a second? There are two players that are regulars. I'm using quotations so Pochettino doesn't get mad at me. Who are in jeopardy, and I think on the outside looking in right now. And one of them is Timothy Weah. The other is Weston McKennie. I don't think they're in the starting
roster
lineup.
Or starting 11? Roster?
Starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one is in the starting 11 right now for Mauricio Pochettino. Timothy Weah is a winger. There are no wingers now. They looked at the roster, they looked at the pool and said, damn, man, we don't have wingers. We don't have natural wingers. You know, you can play Sendejas there, you can play Brandon Aronson there, but you don't have a natural winger unless you're playing Christian out wide or Timothy Weah. So they said, we got to go double 10s. And I don't see Weah playing as a double 10. And I don't see Weston McKennie succeeding as a number 10. When he played with Mauricio Pochettino, he was a double 10. He was a double 10. That's not his best position. That doesn't highlight his best attributes, which is arriving late, which is being a presence, being a menace, which is box to box. But I don't feel Mauricio Pochettino trusts him defensively in the middle of the field. He's going to go two pivots. He's going to go two pivots. I think a pivot like Tanner Tessman he really likes because Tanner Tessman like covers a lot of ground, technically
And
very
played
good,
well.
and
And played well.
has played well. Yes, I think Weston McKennie, Timothy Weah are in trouble of not starting on this national team.
I'll just add one thing about Weah. One part will actually reinforce what you said, one will go against. The one that goes for you is last camp, not this camp, the one before October, when he started to actually play the 3-4-2-1 with wingbacks. Weah started both games,
Yeah,
but Serginho Dest wasn't available. He started
correct.
on the right. I do think there was one game he tested Weah on the left for a few minutes. I
Yep.
can't remember which
No, no,
one.
no, no. It was. I
For
think
a
it was
few
the
minutes.
South Korea one.
Yeah, I think for a bit. So I think there is a world, like you're talking about March testing. If A-Rob's not back or up to speed, I could see him testing Arfston and Way on the left and seeing how it goes. I can see that. And McKennie, you're right, because McKennie's probably not gonna play in the double pivot. And as the 10, if you have Pulisic, if you have Malik Tillman and Gio coming back now
Gio.
to the
Yeah.
picture, it doesn't make too much sense to play
And
McKennie there.
Sendejas. I think those
And
are
then
the
that was playing well. He was
I think
playing
those
well
are the
too.
four tens for my money. Let me blow your mind for a second. Pochettino said something very interesting uh, in the post game presser. I think he said it in Spanish, but he was talking about how much he really liked the partnership between Serginho Dest and Alex Freeman. And Alex Freeman scores 2 goals, playing behind Serginho Dest. Serginho Dest is a guy that you need on the field offensively to unlock defenses. He's just so unpredictable. He's so shifty. He's so technical and explosive and just creates so much. But he likes Alex Freeman. And Alex Freeman's got some size on him. Like, that's going to be one of the third center backs. Like, I think the 3 center back system is designed to paper over Tim Ream's physical deficiencies because he's so good with the ball and he's such an organizer. And having a player with the left foot in the back line that is a good passer, has the ability to have that switch on him. I think he likes that, and I like that. It's just Tim Ream, he gets isolated 1v1. Could you imagine an Mbappe just looking at him, Tim Raymond playing it like long, like meek, he's gone. Like it's
Let's
gonna
not play
be.
France. Let's avoid France. There's Mbappe, Dembele, Doué. There's too many to go at Tim Ream. Let's
Yeah,
avoid that.
I did my own simulation of the World Cup for the U.S. men's national team. The U.S. men's national team get out of their group. I think they'll play at Colombia, and let's say they get by Colombia. You're looking at a France or Portugal, and if it's France, like there's, you know what I mean. But anyways, what I'm
Hey,
trying to
if
say is,
Ronaldo and Tim Ream match up, they're about the same age.
yeah, just a world apart in physical ability. But what I'm trying to say is, um, I think there are some openings in that 3-man back line. And from his words, he liked Alex Freeman. Like Alex Freeman, that's another guy that I think is going to play a significant amount for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, Freeman actually surprised me quite a bit because when he was playing for the United States in the Gold Cup, for example, he played more as a right back instead of
Yeah,
a center back, and he was not trying to be harsh, but he was useless going forward, and he was okay on defense throughout the Gold Cup for the most part. With Orlando City throughout the season, anyone that followed, he was actually quite dangerous going forward. He had
yeah,
a lot of goal contributions, and I would argue that he actually was shaky on defense many times, but he kind of like tunes out. Like there's that goal from Inter Miami where you look at Freeman, he's just like, dude, what are you
yeah.
doing? Like
A
at the
couple
90th.
times in that game.
Yeah. But with the US, it was like the opposite. Now, for this game, more specifically the last one, against Uruguay, he was, or most games, he was rock solid on defense. But against Uruguay, he came to life on offense
Yeah,
in a different system. Him and Scally, I think the big difference was Freeman was making the right runs and he wasn't occupying space that Dest could use to dribble past opponents. Scally
yeah.
was going ahead of Dest, and Dest couldn't beat his opponent. He couldn't combine with Scally either because
He also
Scally's
couldn't
not.
communicate with Serginho Dest. There was a play against Paraguay where Almiron just literally, he has to check the sideline and cover that space. There's miscommunication between Serginho Dest and Joe Scally, and Almiron wins it, the duel into space, and he puts in a ridiculous ball that they finish off for Paraguay's goal. Joe Scally,
Chemistry.
um, Joe Scally, I like, and Joe Scally, you have to respect for what he's done in the Bundesliga. I think he's up there in terms of U23 players with most significant minutes in the last 5 years in the top 5 leagues. Like he's up there. That he's been consistent. I just don't think I don't think Mauricio Pochettino values him as much as maybe I would. And Alex Freeman, you know more about this than I do because you see him there in Orlando. Like he doesn't have a lot of development. Like he doesn't have a lot of first team really reps, and his ability from when he started first team to now national team to kind of catch up has been pretty impressive. Because I agree with you. I
It
remember,
was like his first season.
yeah, I remember the Gold Cup, and I'm like, tactically he is struggling, but then he finds himself in some very good positions against Mexico in the final. You could argue he should have scored. He's got a play where like he heads the ball and kind of runs into Malagon. If he's a little bit more savvy, if you have more reps behind you and find yourself in that position enough times, you understand that you've got to get to the ball first. And if you get to the ball first, the only thing the goalkeeper can do is clean you out, and it's a foul. And he kind of hesitates because he hasn't been in that position before, and he doesn't end up scoring a goal that could have been vital for the U.S. men's national team. What I'm trying to get to is there's a development that comes with being a U.S. men's national team player. Like, listen, the problem here is I had Steve Cherundolo on my podcast, on the Vamos podcast. It's going to come out actually. Well, we are recording this on a Thursday, so it'll come out today. By the time,
so it'll be out by the time people are watching this. Yeah.
And Stevie was talking to me about the national team, and he's like, "Listen, the national team is not to develop players. It's not to develop players. It's to showcase players." And you have to remember that. We are showcasing. We are seeing these players who are supposed to be in their best moment, but it's not to develop them. They get developed by the club teams. So there is a catch-up phase that he is still learning because, like, as you said, this is his first real season.
Yeah. And let me go through two quick questions for you, and then I just want to go through the last part of this one, which is mainly like the 2026 World Cup specifically. One is, I don't know about you. Obviously, Pochettino right now, the number 9 for him is Balogun. I think that's not really debatable. We've seen it in camp his choice, and Balogun has been the one performing the best so far.
He's been
Under
rotating them,
Pochettino.
though.
He's been rotating, but Balogun's the only common denominator so far.
In what sense?
In what sense? He's the one that always gets minutes, right? So 2 games, Balogun played both. Pepe and Haji, each one got one. Balogun in the last camp, he did alternate with Haji, but Ajiman didn't play. So Balogun's always the one of choice that's like, it's him and another one, always.
It's been only like that the last 3 windows.
Which are the ones he's making the most decisions right now. This is finding the right team. But let me ask you this: for you, is Balogun the clear 9? Because in the past, you always said it was debating between Balogun and Pepe.
My issue with he's got pole position for the U Formula One fans out there. He's the guy. It's his job to lose. My issue with Balogun wasn't talent. It was that how long did it take to put it together on the national team? You had been waiting. I mean, think about before this window, he had one moment that was his moment. Well, I'd say 2. He had the goal versus Canada in the final, Gio Reyna assist, a very good assist in the Nations League. And he had the goal he scored, left-footed banger versus Panama. That's it. That was following Balogun in a nutshell, And then he would get injured. He would be injured and not show up to camp. He would be in camp and not take advantage of some opportunities. There were some moments with Greg Berhalter that you could see Greg Berhalter talking to him at halftime, and he's frustrated and whatnot. Like he just didn't seem like, for all that went into getting him to the U.S. men's national team, like he was putting his half or his part of the bargain. And now he is. You see how well he's linked up with Christian Pulisic. To me, that's the most important thing about Folarin Balogun, is the most technical, intelligent, highest ceiling players the U.S. men's national team have are Christian Pulisic, Giovanni Reyna, and he links up very well with both. He's a player you can clearly see has chemistry with both. And you know this, Filippo. In the World Cup, there's going to come a time where, probably the majority of times, where you're playing on the back foot. You're not the better team. You're going to be defending. And you need a forward who can kind of do it all, who can be an outlet, who can create for himself, who has speed, who has physical presence, who has the ability to combine. You kind of need a jack of all trades. If we're looking at profiles, he's the guy that most is that.
I also think he's the one center forward we have that has the best ability to create his own shot if needed, right? He
Yeah, yeah.
can beat the guy one touch very quickly. I think the scenario I place Pepe ahead of Balogun is you're down 1-0 and you're going full on ball into the box, cross, cross, cross. Pepe's a better poacher. He'll find the right place, be in the right time. But outside of that, I would always start Balogun. And again, Pepe, that would be a specific situation. And Haji, to me, he's like Balogun, but worse at everything that Balogun does, if that makes any sense.
He is. It makes sense. I wouldn't say worse. He's just not as refined. Like Balogun looks kind of silky, you know.
Yeah,
And
worse might be harsh. He's not bad, a bad player. Yeah, you're right. Like Balogun is just better in many of the attributes that Haji excels, and so does Balogun. They have
yeah,
similar attributes. But Haji would be another great option. Now, to you, and I mean, I think this one's going to be an easy one, and then we'll talk very quickly about the 2026 World Cup. If healthy, regardless of his club situation, Gio's a roster lock. Would you say so?
yeah. Gio's in my 11.
If
Yeah.
even if he's not playing for Gladbach,
I mean, do you remember a time when Christian Pulisic wasn't playing for Chelsea and he'd come to the U.S. men's national team and do well? Like,
there,
and listen, sometimes coaches are prisoners of their own words, and Mauricio Pochettino contradicted himself when he said, "You need to be playing for your club. You need to be important for your club to come to the national team." And then he calls in Giovanni Reyna. I was okay with it, and he kind of explained himself. When he spoke about Gio Reyna, he used the word special like 5, 6 times. I'm sorry, life isn't fair. There are some special players, there are some special people in life who get the benefit of the doubt. Giovanni Reyna is going to get the benefit of the doubt because he has the ability to unlock defenses. I mean, listen, the goal he scores against Paraguay, for me, that was like a bonus cherry on top. It's his play. Giovanni Reyna is one of the few players you have in this pool that get the ball, has the ability to eliminate a player with a movement, and unlocks a defense with his passing and vision. Like it's always going forward. He's always going. This very rarely is it lateral or back. He's looking to go forward, and when he goes forward, he's penetrating and eliminating players. As a 9, I was a 9. I used to play 9. I used to play as a winger on both sides, right and left. I want to be around that type of player because if I make an intelligent movement, he makes an intelligent decision, and it's immediate danger. I think Pochettino saw that this camp. I mean, he was on the field, I don't know, 2, 3 minutes with Tanner Testman against Uruguay, delivers an assist. You know, he's just that type of player. And for the first time in a long time, because Giovanni Reyna is like 6'2". I don't know if people know that. He's like a big,
6'2"?
yeah, he's like a big kid, man. Giovanni Reyna is big. But people he's like Josh Sargent. Like these players, they're like deceiving. You don't think they're that big, they're big. The U.S. has some size, man. The U.S. has like Sebastian Berhalter. We could sit here and say, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? But he's the first player in a long time that is kind of a guarantee on a set piece, like to deliver a corner kick or a free kick. The U.S. now has guys like Tanner Tessman, Chris Richards, who gets on the end of
Freeman.
a lot of things, Alex Freeman. You know, we can go down the list of whoever plays and the center backs that have been called up. Miles Robinson. You know, there's some real size there. You know, Weston McKinney has the ability to get on the end of things. You know, Fowler and Balogun, Haji Wright, Patrick Ajiman might be for Mauricio Pochettino, depending on how many strikers he takes. Somebody he takes just a profile alone. If you watch his goals in the championship, he's just dunking on guys from pure size. And there's
Oh,
going to
I've
come a
been
moment.
watching some of the games. I've been
Yeah,
watching.
they're not clean. But what I'm saying is like 5 minutes left in the game, you're down a goal. You know how the U.S. is going to try to attack you and what they're going to try to do. Like you have now some size. So it's not now you have real threats on what decides games the
Well, play
majority of
to your
times.
strength, right? Play to your
Yeah.
strength. Yeah. But the thing with it too, with Gio, the way I went about it is like, I mean, if he starts Gio Reyna, I have no issue with that. But the way I thought about it when I was looking into roster, it's who are your other 10 options, right? You got Pulisic and Tillman that are playing at a high level. After that, your options are Zendejas, good option. Might not be the game changer you want in the World Cup, but
Right.
could get something done. Diego Luna, I don't think that'll be a game changer in the World Cup. Brendan Aronson, useful for a very specific role, but he's not going to really give you goals and assists. So if you're playing Tillman and Pulisic, and you need a goal, your only option on the bench is Gio. Now, let's say Gio starts. Having Tillman off the bench is not a bad option too if you need
You know
goals or
what?
assists.
I completely forgot, and I apologize about Diego Luna. That's another guy I think is going to get a ton of minutes with Mauricio Pochettino. You go look at Mauricio Pochettino's tenure, and you click on their, goals and assists, who's up there for him, and it's Diego Luna. Diego Luna is like top 2-3 players when it comes to goal production for Mauricio Pochettino, and coaches soon forget that, man. They will soon forget that. Think about this. It was a moment where I know it's Gold Cup, and people are going to say, "Oh, it's Gold Cup." Listen, we can get into the tweet in a bit, but those players are the players that he's been heavily counting on post Gold Cup too. And they played against Guatemala, and I was in the stadium that day. It's a pro it's a pro Guatemalan crowd, I should say. Diego Luna is the guy kind of saved the day for Mauricio Pochettino. He had a double that game. He had a brace. Uh, Coaches don't forget things like that, man. People are going to call me crazy. Just go back and look at the numbers. Go back and look who plays.
Well,
Diego Luna's
Berhalter
always
with
been there.
Jesus, Herc. Berhalter
Sorry?
with Jesus. Berhalter with Jesus. He had some good goals, and then he just
Correct.
stayed there, even though he probably
Oh,
shouldn't have.
that's a great example. That's a great example. You know?
But here's the tweet that Herc just mentioned. He put like Pochettino's regulars, so essentially the players that had more caps for him so far, and it's in order. So Tim Ream, Diego Luna, as you just mentioned, Arfston, Matt Freeze, Freeman, Richards, Tillman, Ajiman, Aronson, Jack McGlynn. And then you keep going. Obviously, Pulisic took the summer off. So Tyler Adams, Testman, Sebastian Berhalter. So what you're saying here is these guys, you think there are higher odds of them being in the World Cup than others based on the data you have, even though I don't think Brian White will be there, obviously.
It's not my choice selection. It's Mauricio Pochettino. It wasn't just the Gold Cup. I mean, it was the friendlies before the Nations League, the Gold Cup. It was post Gold Cup. I mean, these aren't my selections. These are Mauricio Pochettino's selections. He's been, you said 51 players in 2025, 71 in total. Like, that's who he's been trusting the most. So the proof is in the pudding. That's why I think he was so upset, the presser, because he's like, "What do you mean normal players?" Like, and he says disrespectful to the players who are here, because he's been telling you who his normal players are. Maybe we just not been listening.
It's a good point because we can't really expect him to make a massive 180 right now. We're one camp away from the World Cup. He's not going to change the whole roster now
No.
or just start bringing all of a sudden the players we believe in. And I talked about this on my last video. It's interesting when building a team. We're not playing FIFA here, right? It's not a video game where you just get the players that have the highest rating, you put them on the field, and it's the best team. It's tricky because the best coaches are able to get your highest rated players together and to get them to perform to the best of their ability. But you can't always do that. Sometimes you have to get a player that's his rating is lower, but he just fits better with those guys. He performs
Or
better for
he's
the
in a better
national team.
moment.
Yeah, it's tricky, and that's where we want Pochettino to succeed. Like, and it might not be with our best players on the field. We're gonna find out, but it might not be.
So coaches sometimes get themselves in trouble by trying to put the best players on the field instead of the best team on the field. And I think that's what you got to focus on. Getting your best players on the field doesn't mean you're going to have the best team on the field. And that's very different. And listen, man, you're talking to a guy that was nowhere near the national team picture 6 months before the World Cup started. I went on a goal scoring tear in Mexico and was out of the playoffs. We didn't make the playoffs in April. And I won the goal scoring title in Mexico, and I knew there was a good chance that I could be called up to the 30-man camp in May for the national team. So I trained with, rest in peace, Chivas USA to stay fit. I got called into the 30-man camp, and I had to prove it in that camp.
Chivas was useful for something. There you go.
I had to prove it in that camp, to make the team. And I made the team, and I played 3 of the 4 games. In the game that I didn't play, I was like literally on the sideline waiting to come in, and the referee blew the whistle. So I was a big part of those World Cup games, and I was nowhere near the list. I played 0. I was in 0 camps, 0 appearances, 0 minutes before the World Cup cycle ended. So things can happen for a lot of players. It's about moments, about timing, it's about who you are. Like I go back to Steve Cherundolo. He said it's not to develop players, to showcase players. What players are going to be at a good level then are going to be a massive factor.
We also forget that the World Cup is a short cup. So it's about catching good form, being in good form in the right time, the right moment. Like Morocco 6 months prior to the World Cup was a disaster, getting destroyed by Greg Berhalter. Change the coach, change the momentum, semifinals. And there's many other examples throughout history. So one last question for you. Let's go back to when Greg Berhalter was rehired. We had just won the Nations League. That's when he was announced, right? When we beat Mexico, I believe. Or actually, we beat Mexico in the semis, then we beat Canada. So let's go back to that. The BJ
He
era,
was
Berhalter.
announced. It was announced or leaked, I should say, 5 minutes before kickoff versus Mexico.
Yeah, Paul Tenorio just had an article ready. He just happened to have one. And he was back. Greg Berhalter. We still have. We had a very exciting generation coming off the World Cup that was around 16. We were starting to play well. We beat Mexico. We beat Canada, where we actually completely outplayed them, both of them. Greg Berhalter's rehired. Many people are upset. Some people are like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, continue his work. So it was a mixed bag of some optimism and some pessimism, right? It wasn't like the Copa America where everyone was just completely pessimistic about the future. Go to now, because Pochettino 6 months ago, many were pessimistic, including myself. I was very pessimistic. Now I'm a bit more optimistic. Are you more optimistic right now than earlier this cycle when Berhalter got rehired? Or are you about the same? Are you still skeptical? I have one concern, Herc, just to tell you for the World Cup. Our defense is still shaky, and I have never seen an underdog story in the history of the World Cup with a bad defense. I've never seen it. So
Right.
I'll leave it with you.
I'm more optimistic right now. I do want to tread carefully here. Um, Take the results with a grain of salt. And listen, you beat Uruguay. It's not every day you beat a CONMEBOL nation, excuse me, ex World Cup winner, albeit in the 30s. But a country with such rich tradition in football, and you beat them, dropping a manita on them, 5 goals. Like, take it and run, celebrate, bask in the glory, do whatever you want to do. That's worthy. Like, celebrate it, yes. But Japan, and then it was there you go, Australia, and I'm sure there's another team I'm missing in there.
Ecuador.
Ecuador, thank you. Um, Paraguay, Uruguay. Let's leave Uruguay out for a second. Those teams, a lot of them they're all qualified, and they were accessing players. They were looking at players. That it was at times alternate squads, and many would say, "Well, so was the U.S." I don't know if that's true anymore. What I'm trying to say is good results against not the full team. Now, Uruguay had a lot of first team regulars. Sure, you're missing Federico Valverde, Real Madrid. You're missing Darwin Nunez. I get it, but a
They
lot of
had
those
five or
players,
six starters. Five or six
yeah,
starters.
a lot of those players, and I'm a the fourth goalkeeper in their fourth game, and sure they've got their own coaching issues, in Uruguay with Bielsa and how the players feel about him, et cetera, et cetera. Um, feel good about it. Just know that these results, while it's very important to get the results and it should make you feel very good, aren't exactly like if you had to play for 3 points against these teams. You had to play for a World Cup spot against these teams. So just keep that in mind.
Yes, I agree with the overall context. And even so, like if we are missing players, I don't know if it's our regulars or not. We're about to find out very soon. Probably not. They probably are our regulars. Sorry. They probably are based on what we're
Probably are.
seeing. But even if it wasn't, if it's our B team versus their B team, that doesn't mean our A team beats their A team. So
Yeah.
I get it. But overall, the results are very encouraging. That's the data we have. So that's what we have to work with. I'm also more optimistic than the past. My only concern is us fixing that defense because you kind of said it earlier in the episode. There will be many moments in the World Cup we're going to play teams that are clearly better than us. They're going to push us back, and if we bend and break, we're screwed. We have to be able to hold our own in the back line. So maybe Pulisic, maybe Balogun, one moment can punish the opponent,
Yeah.
and that's how you pull an upset. If we don't have a strong defense, the whole like let's make it to the quarterfinals thing ain't happening. You're not winning 2 knockout games with a shaky defense. So
Yeah. I,
hopefully,
I think that so people don't get confused. And listen, I cover La Liga a lot for ESPN Deportes, and we talk a lot about Barcelona. They're like, "Oh, that back line, that back line." It's not the back line. The back line is a consequence. It's a domino. It's that front line. And I think Mauricio Pochettino's going along the same vein. You need that front line, the line of confrontation. You need them to be intense, and as soon as they cross there, you need the players to be in sync. So that back line, which can be physically shaky, excuse me, because of the likes of a Tim Ream, if you will, gets protected. So it can't just be the back line. It needs to be we're all going to defend, because I don't think the U.S. men's national team has the luxury of thinking they're better than any nation at the World Cup. Expanded World Cup, I get it. I get it. But if you want to make it to a quarterfinal and beyond in a home World Cup, you have to have 11 players who are willing to die on that field physically just exert themselves until they can't go no more, and it's next man up. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of, this player turnover game after game.
Yeah, my concern is that in the World Cup, teams will do proper scouting. And you mentioned France, for example. We could go through other ones. They will set up the team and have patterns of play and funnel the ball towards having an Mbappe, Dembele, or Desire Doué, whoever, in isolation with Tim Ream. And that's where you get into trouble. Now it's up to Pochettino to set up the team properly to not get exposed.
Exactly.
But again, when you play these world-class teams, sometimes there's only so much you can do, right? They're very well coached. They're players that, I mean, you know how it is. You played. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Right?
Yeah, I will say what I like about Pochettino's teams is how intense they are. Like, it seems like it's going to be tough to break them down, and not just break them down, because if you look at the score lines, that they get broken down, they get scored against. But they're very aggressive. They're very intense, and we've seen U.S. men's national teams. This group of players, this generation of players, I've accused of being soft. All of a sudden isn't too soft. We've seen the scuffles. We've seen them defend. I can't tell you how many times I've tweeted or I've said, why are they allowing Christian Pulisic to get the shit kicked out of him? Somebody defend the kid. They're starting to defend each other. They're a tough team to play against in that regard. They still need to not get broken down and give up goals, but they're a tougher team. So from where they were, I would say, at the beginning of this cycle to where they are now, you've seen some improvement in that.
Yeah, very often teams absorb the personality of the coach. You see
Yes.
Atletico, it screams Simeone. And Greg Berhalter, when you looked him at the bench, he seemed very, I'm going to be very kind to him, very timid. I'll be kind. I'll say that way. So, Herc, thank you very much. We close 2025 here. Big year coming up. You guys can find Hercules Gomez on ESPN, obviously, and the Vamos podcast. I'll put the Vamos podcast link in the description of this video.
Gracias.
ESPN, you guys can kind of find it yourself. That's not up to me. Thank you very much, Herc.
Appreciate it, my man. Be well.